That's right. Black hoodie, sleeveless shirt with like cats on it in the form of a skull and a flower crown. That's my aesthetic right there. Anyhow, hello friends, welcome back to Max's Writer's Life Vlogs, where I talk about my writing process, as well as offering advice and inspiration along the way. This time around, I'm going to be talking about my own process, what I've been up to, what's on my plate right now, as well as talking about the idea of being afraid to write, how it's caused, where it comes from, and how to overcome it and move past it. That was too serious. Let's make a couple butt jokes. Nah. So, silliness out of the way. What have I been up to? Well, I record these videos a little bit in advance because recording schedules, and also Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, for the Americas, of course. I mean, for America, not the Americas, because that includes Canada, and they had their Thanksgiving like last month. Anyhow, this week I've been working on a lot of editing, a lot of preparing the upcoming volumes of my new serialized novel thing, Mercenary Hearts, a cyberpunk serial. But yeah, that's all business. Links in the description below. You know me, I know you. You've been following me. You don't need to know about that. I've been doing a little bit of editing. I've been doing a lot of brainstorming because I'm going to be writing super soon. And my main conversation this week is strongly, super tightly connected to today's subject as well. So I'm going to be really slowly like fading into that in a moment. What was the biggest struggle for me this week? The biggest struggle for me was actually stepping into the brainstorming mind again. I've been doing a lot of editing. I've been editing and publishing for the last 3 weeks or so, which is too much. It's actually way too long for what I usually do. So it was a little bit harder getting back into the mind frame, especially because I'm working on a series. And although they're a little bit on the shorter side, it's the same struggle. It's the same struggle of how do I get back into these characters' heads? Now, those of you who know me, who've been following me forever, you know I'm not a big-headed person. I don't have a big ego. I am level-headed enough to admit that I was a little afraid. I was a little afraid to get back into it, mostly because I wasn't sure if I could do it again. You know, that happens every time. I'm going to touch on this in a moment, but I was a little bit afraid. I was a little bit afraid that I wouldn't be able to grasp the characters again. Where does this fear come from? Because I think one of the biggest pitfalls of giving writing advice that is personal is that it all depends. That's why I kind of try to stay away from big questions like writer's block, or when I do tackle them, I break them down like I am about to break this down right now. Break it down now. These are all personal questions. There is no one answer to writer's block because there's no one thing that writer's block is. Writer's block is a myriad of things. I mean, you could say that what I was feeling was writer's block. I know that it's not because I've learned to disarm my own feelings, and I would like to encourage you to develop the talent to stop for a moment, look inside of yourself, and deconstruct your own feelings. Because about like a couple days back, I was looking at my schedule and I was telling myself I have to start brainstorming this book now because Thanksgiving is coming up, and heaven knows we're not taking that day off because there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen. And I was telling myself we need to start planning now. And I could feel myself trying to squeeze every moment of not working because I didn't want to start brainstorming because I was afraid. I deconstructed the feelings and I was able to look at them and ask myself, why do I feel like this? Again, I want to inspire you to take a look at yourself and ask yourself, why do I feel like this? Every answer is different because every person is different. So one of those things that always bothers me, and I hate answering questions like, how do you solve writer's block? Writer's block is a different thing to everyone. That's the problem. And I love it that every time I make a video, somebody out there is like, wow, Max, you made this video for me. How did you know? Well, I have a ESP. But that aside, these are all kind of universal terms. Stop right now. If there's something bothering you, writing or not, stop and ask yourself, what is actually bothering me? Let's put my ego aside and all these things aside, and what is actually bothering me? Are the SATs actually bothering me? Is the weather actually bothering me? Is that one thing that person said really bothering me? Or is it something else? And of course you already know because I spoiled it for you, but I was able to disarm what I was feeling, and I was afraid of stepping back into this world that I haven't been writing for a little while because I was editing and publishing, and I was afraid of capturing the world. And of course, if the problem is that I'm afraid that I won't be able to capture them like I did, I simply just rewalk my steps. I read my brainstorming notes for when I brainstormed the first books, and I reminded myself, yes, these are the root elements that inspire me to tell this story. These are the 3 elements from which the story is sprung. If I focus on those, if I step into those shoes again, everything will flow just like it was supposed to. And yeah, it was really fun. Once I got myself into the mindset, ideas started coming. Ideas started appearing one by one, and I realized, ooh, this needs to happen. Ooh, this needs to happen. Wait, scratch that. This instead should happen because that is way more fun. And everything fell into place again. Writing is a very interesting medium because it's a little silly. And especially for young writers out there, you will realize, in time you will realize that most of the things preventing you from writing are fear and doubt. It's fear and doubt. What you need to understand is that the human imagination can achieve pretty much anything it wants, especially things that may be counterproductive to what it actually wants to do. You can imagine countless worlds and dimensions and peoples and magics and places and situations and character moments and character drama. And you can also picture everything that could possibly go wrong with your life and your story and everything. Fear and doubt, you could call them the other side of imagination. It's the dark side of imagination, if you may. Within the field of your mind, everything is possible. You can imagine whatever you want. You can imagine terrible things happening. You can imagine amazing things happening. And when my odds are 50-50, I like to go with imagining awesome things happening because one inspires you and the other doesn't. But that's another subject for another day. On the subject of fear and doubt, I think I've touched on this recently on another video, but I'm going to cover it anyway. One of the things that a lot of young writers forget about and they miss is the idea that fear and doubt is an amateur thing. Fear and doubt are things that new writers feel and talented writers don't feel. That is wrong. That could not be any more wrong. Every writer that you know, every writer that you look up to deals with fear and deals with doubt. I think Neil Gaiman recently wrote an article on the imposter syndrome, which is the idea that you are not keeping up with your past self's amazingness, and now when you create content, you feel as though you're this imposter. You're not this awesome person people look up to anymore. And even then, someone as amazing and as inspirational as Neil Gaiman, because bless that man, feels fear and feels doubt. There's a quote by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which said that at every time he sat down at the typewriter, he was terrified. Fear and doubt are kind of part of being a writer because they're the other side of imagination. You can imagine these worlds and these peoples and these moments. And that, I think that makes us a little bit more susceptible to thinking about the problems, thinking about the non-problems that can emerge. Somebody saying this about our novel, someone in the internet saying this about you, this one person that doesn't exist that you fabricated for this particular memory says this really mean thing about your story and your work, and says precisely the thing that would cut you the deepest. You know that feeling. You have thought about that. The dark side of imagination appears when we are weakest. But what you need to understand is that every writer that you look up to, every writer that you enjoy, that has been an inspiration to you, deals with that and has found ways to overcome it. I'm not going to say that my way is the best way because I've never said anything even remotely close to that. But I want you to stop and examine your feelings, examine why you feel the way you do, and find solutions. Sometimes the solution is to act right away. When I realized that I was running away because I didn't want to write, I realized we have to start right now. Because, as Stephen King said in his amazing book on writing, it is always scariest the moment right before you begin. And I can tell you right now, with crimson certainty, the instant I started brainstorming, it all faded away. I stepped in, I remembered that this is what I do, and the fear went away. Fear and doubt are often irrational. They are just manifestations of the things we're worried about. But just like you can create them and give them form within the field of your mind, you can also disarm them. Step inside and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? What can I do about it? Sometimes the solution is to act right away, to step into action. And sometimes, as we say in Spanish, platicas con la almohada, which means to talk with the pillow, which is a silly term for just take a nap. Don't think about it for a little while. Let these crimson emotions become a little less crimson. Find your own solutions. One of the biggest pitfalls of writing advice is that people out there, and I despise people out there who sell their advice as ultimate. This is the solution to writer's block. This is what you must do to be a writer, otherwise you're a failure. I hate stuff like that. Writing is not a formula. Writing is not science. Writing is magic. You have to find your own way. So today, if there's something worrying you, if there's something that bothers you, or if you're afraid to get started with that story that you should have started about a couple weeks ago, inspect your feelings. Be honest with yourself, please. And move forward. Find solutions. Keep advancing. Grow. Keep writing. Tell stories. Do what you want to do. This is your life. And dedicate it to the things that excite you. That's what life is about. So, I've rambled a little bit. I've drifted away from the point. But fear and doubt can get in the way of your writing. And the only way to overcome them is to disarm them. Because they're not these monsters under the bed. They are the embodiment of your worries, and worries are a little irrational at times. Disarm them, make them less, make them smaller, and learn from them, and move forward. But anyhow, I've gone on way too long. I gotta get going. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I want to know how your week has been going, and if you have questions you would like me to tackle, leave them in the comments down below. I want to hear from you. Anyhow, thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. This always happens. I come in with like a silly subject and I think, you know what, I'm just gonna put on my flower crown and I'm gonna be silly. And then I get all inspirational. That happens. And it's weird. It's weird because I'm waiting for the day that somebody starts making GIFs out of my videos, and I can't wait for the juxtaposition of like, why is this dork with the flower crown giving inspirational advice? And I'm just gonna turn to them and go,